It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. Before we get started, do please hit that share button so we can all educate more patriots around the country. All right, we're kicking things off on this day with Vicki McKenna and CultureCast. Vicki, so glad to have you with us.
Good to be here, Duke.
You know, the American public school system is descending into an apocalyptic form of crazy we have never seen before, and I don't think most of the country is paying attention. What's going on now at a school in Clay County, Florida, Clay County schools in Florida, we have parents filing a federal lawsuit because the school had badgered a young girl into thinking that she was transgender. It was secret meetings that the parents weren't told about. The 12-year-old girl tried to kill herself at the school as a way of dealing with this, and the school tried to cover that up, suggesting that the personal file of her daughter did not belong in the hands of the actual parents who have this girl who tried to kill herself.
Yeah, and you know, is appalling and sort of extreme as you all think this story is. The idea that teachers or administrators or school board members reject the concept of parental authority is common. It's just a matter of how it manifests itself. It manifested itself in a very bizarre way here, but consider in Wisconsin, for those of you watching in Wisconsin, there are multiple school districts that now overtly counsel young people to who have shown an interest in transgenderism to transition, declare pronouns, pick new names, without ever letting parents know it is happening. There have been multiple lawsuits filed about that. And despite the fact that the lawsuits have been successful on behalf of parents, the schools continue to do it. So what the schools believe is that you as a parent have no authority. You're a problem to be solved. And in the case of this young person, she was not an individual human being with maybe some mental health issues and feelings and needs. She was an experiment. You had teachers who goaded her into declaring herself transgender. And then when she tried to kill herself, did not believe that her own parents, the only people, by the way, in the whole group who love this child, did not believe that they deserved any information. So she may try again. And the parents will have not even known the extent to which her mental state is decayed.
Yeah, let me read from the press release here. This is really shocking stuff. The press statement noted that the parents are claiming district and school officials dismissed all of this. Quote, their parental rights were lost by concealing from the parents the fact that the school officials were having secret meetings with their daughter, trying to affirm the girl as a boy when the 12-year-old girl began to express gender confusion at school. And so what happened was she tried to then hang herself in a school bathroom, and when the parents showed up on site, the school kept her in a room, the parents away from the daughter for almost half an hour before they would consent to let the parents even see the daughter and the state that she was in.
It's kidnapping in a way, and it could actually eventually escalate to that becoming a literal kind of kidnapping, but they're trying to cover their tracks. They're trying to deny parental authority. They're trying to use a human being as a lab rat, an obviously mentally unstable young girl as a lab rat, because she showed a little gender confusion. So the first thing that happens is they hop on and they start love bombing her and telling her how awesome it is and how unique she is. This is something we've seen played out in other schools, not to the extent that the officials are hiding suicide attempts, but in the Madison schools, for instance, you have an entire week with counselors finding children who will declare themselves non-binary and essentially showering them with love and accolades and adulation and compliments and telling them how awesome they are, and with all that special attention to try to keep them moving down that continuum ever closer toward total gender transition. That's happening in Madison schools. We have video of it.
And you know what else? This is these virtue signaling liberals, progressives, belt notching. I mean, we're at the point now, if we're trying to convince kids this is the best thing that could happen to them, think about what's happening here. You have these progressive adults trying to notch as many belt loops here to show how their bona fides are. The more kids they bring over to the correct side, who they convince are the right, they're the ones that are going to lead them into gender paradise. I wonder if there aren't secret clauses in some of these contracts. The more of these kids you bring over the line in gender transition, the more money, the more whatever it is. If we're not there yet, we will be there very shortly. Vicki,
you know what? I think a FOIA on those contracts is not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. After the break, let's finish talking about this situation.
Are you a fan of the show? Consider joining the Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation of $99 a year keeps us going. Simply visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us to pledge your support and receive our signature tumbler as a token of our appreciation. We've got much more to come. Stay with us.
All right, joined again by Vicki McKenna for the second half of our Culture Cast. We're talking about this horrific situation down in Florida where a school actually was secretly trying to convince a 12-year-old girl that she was a boy. When the girl started to resist a little bit or have second thoughts perhaps, she went and tried to hang herself in the bathroom, and the parents themselves were initially held away from the daughter, weren't even able to see her when they showed up on the scene. We have this. One shocked parent asked why this happened. Here's what the school counselor said. The school counselor responded that all of this was because of the child's gender identity issues and that they knew her parents would not be in agreement because of their Catholic Christian beliefs. Let's think about that for a second. So now it's none of their business.
Right, and now they've decided that Catholic Christian beliefs have to be rejected, have to be subverted. And so now they've decided that whatever they disagree with, the parental decision they disagree with, they have given themselves complete permission to just simply ignore parental authority, parental rights, by the way, which are protected in the law. And the punishment for this is likely to be maybe administrative sanction in if it's particularly egregious and you can actually prove that they were encouraging her to declare herself alt gender, then maybe you've got some liability. Unlikely, since you're talking about government, and government is largely protected from any kind of accountability on this. And so, what's their recourse? Take their kid out of school. Now you're going to have to find some mental health treatment. By the way, counselors are probably going to try to gender affirm her as well. So this is a nightmare for these parents, and they're seeking an appeal to authority, and they're not finding any sympathy or any understanding. That is a sign that public schools have. This is Florida, mind you. This is Ron DeSantis land. That public schools have utterly abandoned, even the pretense at this point of wanting parental involvement and respecting parental authority. Get your kids out of the public schools, period.
Yeah, and let me follow up with that. This is almost a done deal, right? This is public high schools and middle schools, elementary schools all across the country have decided independently of what you and I think, right, independently what our state governors think, that your kids belong to them and that their job is not to simply even provide information about gender transformation, but to encourage kids to cross that line. It's almost as if we said at the end of the last segment, there is some weird bedpost notching going on here. We saw those two teachers in California who are on leave now because they were quietly going behind everybody's back and pulling these kids into private rooms to convince them that they were transgender. This is a very, very bizarre sort of kind of situation where the people who have a stake in this, the people who are promoting transgenderism, it's almost like, Vicki, there's not enough of it for their case to be made. So doggone it, they're going to drum it up.
Yeah, I think so, because you're talking about a vanishingly small group of people who are gender confused, gender dysmorphic, and now we're foreclosing. By the way, we're foreclosing medical treatment for those people if they would, like anything, accept an affirmation of their gender confusion. But it's very subversive, and it's among the many subversive things going on in the public school system. You're talking about politics that has given, or education that has given way entirely to politics and sociology. at the expense of learning, at the expense of reading, at the expense of literacy, at the expense of being able to actually know enough to go out and get a job when you're 18 years old. All of it's about the zealot, the zealous ideology that the progressives embrace. And it does not matter how much harm is done. Look, you've got parents who show up at these school board meetings and they're screaming about masks and CRT and all of these wonderful things because they're showing up for a change. So what is the reaction to that? The reaction to that is to cut off parents' comments, threaten to arrest them, have them arrested at school board meetings, not permit them to see their children, hide all of the information of their children struggling, be it academically, socially, or mentally. That's the reaction. The teachers union reaction to all of this is too much parents' involvement here. So we have to find ways to circumvent the authority of those parents, because otherwise we will not be able to accomplish our subversive mission, I think, which is ultimately to use schools to break up the family.
And Vicki, you and I know explicitly that if that little girl had managed to kill herself in that public school, the trans activists across this country would have blamed it on transphobia and intolerance and the intolerance of religion and the parents. It is unbelievable. Vicki,
it's real and it's not going away.
Today's show is sponsored by Clean Start Hand Sanitizer. For an odor-free foam hand sanitizer that lasts 2 hours and provides 19 refills, visit freedomproject.com/clean. That's KLEEN to order yours today.
All right, it's time for Trending Left. We've compiled some of the craziest social media content making waves across the internet for your viewing pleasure. We start with a video posted by, I guess we're assuming it's a teacher, and also gender unknown, where the supposed teacher explains how they would intentionally deceive parents from knowing their child might be transgender. I'll read the student's queries, and you can listen to the teacher's responses. Here's the student. Can I talk to you about something? Are you busy?
Yo, what's up? No, come here. All right, what's on your mind?
So I've been too scared to say anything, but I'm trans.
Oh, no way. All right, is there a different way you would like for me to refer to you as? No, I love that. That is so great. I think that name fits you really well. I will definitely write that down so I don't forget.
Oh, but I haven't yet come out to my parents.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. All right. What we can do in that situation is during parent-teacher conferences, I will refer to you as your legal name. But here in the classroom, I want to make sure you always feel comfortable, included, and safe, all those good things. So I'll definitely be referring to you. Is that okay? Okay.
So somebody explained to me how using the child's given name is unsafe in the classroom. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Heading now south to Frisco, Texas, we find a 7th grade grammar class is having a hard time making sense of all the pronouns driving the insanity on the left. We learn in this assignment that they isn't always plural. Some individuals go by they instead of he or she. And some style guides now accept they with singular words like everyone. Interesting, for 20 years, the public schools have ignored grammar, and now when they teach it wrong. Meanwhile, at Binghamton University in New York, an email was sent to sociology students who pay tens of thousands of dollars to attend this school. And the email says that when it comes to class participation, faculty must be racist to combat white privilege. It reads, and I quote, "We practice progressive stacking when calling on people to participate in class discussion. This means that we try to give priority to non-white folks, to women and to shy and quiet people who rarely raise their hands. It also means that if you are white male or someone privileged by the racial and gender structures of our society, to have your voice easily heard, we will often ask you to hold off on your questions or comments to give priority to others, and maybe we'll come back to you a bit later or another time. Our experience with this practice is that within little time, those who feel most privileged to speak begin to take the initiative to hold space for others." So you've got a whole system here of kids paying for university school, paying a lot of money, and being told because of the color of your skin, you need to shut up and go to the back of the bus. Interesting. Let's head to York County, Pennsylvania, where masked elementary schools are used as propagandistic pawns to create a puff piece thanking their wonderful school board. Enjoy the propaganda.
Thanks to you. We want to say thanks to you.
Thanks very much for being so brave.
Thank you, school board, for dedicating your time and helping our school.
Keeping us
Thank
protected
you,
and
school board,
shaping
for
our minds.
supporting our
Loving
school.
us well and giving your
Thank you,
time.
school board.
Because of you, I'm healthy
Thank
and
you,
free.
school board, for
I don't have
dedicating
to
your
worry
time
because
to
you
us.
care for
We
me.
appreciate you.
In your
Thank
hands,
you
I'm
for being a
safe
good
and sound.
leader.
This is, of course, the school boards fighting back against all the negative press they've been getting. And what are these parents ultimately complaining about? How the kids are being manipulated into all sorts of things. And the school board responds with what? A manipulative video praising the school board by these same kids. I kid you not. This is so Hitler-Jugend. And finally, we end in the emoji world as Apple has decided what we've always been missing on our iPhones is a way to text our friends about trans men and non-binary people. The pregnant man. Somehow we need the music from 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? Dun, 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 dun. This is one step forward for humankind, one giant leap for trans silliness. And that wraps up this segment. More nonsense to discuss next week. It's time now for some real education. All week long, we've been having a little bit of fun. We've been looking at Greek mythology, but not through the lens of ancient Greece and Rome, but through the lens of modern and modernist painters from about 1850 through today, because there's an interesting way that the modern progressive culture in the West takes those myths and makes it their own. So take a look at our example for today, one of my favorite paintings, actually. This is Pygmalion and Galatia. It's from 1890. And the artist is Jean-Léon Jerome. He was born in 1824 and 1904 is the year that he died. He was a French painter and a sculptor in the style now known as academicism. His paintings were so widely produced that he was arguably the world's most famous living artist by the year 1880. The range of his work included historical painting, Greek mythology, Orientalism, portraits, and other subjects, bringing the academic painting tradition to an artistic climax. He is considered one of the most important painters from this academic period. He was also a teacher with a long list of influential students. And to the painting itself, Pygmalion and Galatia is an oil-on-canvas painting by Jerome. The motif is taken from Ovid's Metamorphoses, the great Roman poet, and it depicts the sculptor Pygmalion kissing his statue of Galatia at the very moment the goddess Aphrodite brings her to life. Jerome painted Pygmalion and Galatia in the summer of 1890. By 1891, he had also made a marble statue of the same subject, possibly based on a plaster version, also used as a model for the painting. He made several alternative versions of the painting, each presenting the subject from a different angle. The Metropolitan Museum of Art page provides a very detailed history and extensive references if you'd like to take another look at all of the paintings that followed in the wake of this. But there's Pygmalion, and you see him standing on a box. The story goes is that he became very disenchanted with women. He was watching the behavior of women, the loose and profligate behavior of many women that he knew, and he became misogynist and decided that real women were something he wanted nothing to do with. And so Pygmalion swore an oath that he would never marry, swore an oath that he was done with flesh and blood women forever, and went ahead and carved what he thought was, and the ancient world thought was, one of the most lifelike examples of the female form in this beautiful nymph Galatia, whose exploits in Greek mythology are all over the place. So beautiful was the statue that Pygmalion fell in love with it, and the Greek goddess of love, or erotic love, we should say, Aphrodite. You can see her sort of hovering in white, almost like an angel, just to the right of the two figures. She brought that statue to life, and he had to renounce his misogyny, and he ended up marrying and having children with the now living, breathing, flesh and blood sculpture that he himself created. And that's going to do it for this show. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.